Okay, I want you to try something for me. Just in your head, say the sentence. I prove the theorem to be false. It sounds perfectly fine, right? Standard English. Makes total sense.
Yep.
Now, I want you to take that verb proved and just turn it into a noun, proof, and then try to say the rest of the sentence exactly the same way. My proof of the theorem to be false.
And right there, it breaks. It sounds like you suddenly forgot how to speak English.
Exactly. It crashes. It sounds completely broken. But here's the thing that gets me. The meaning is identical. I mean, I proved and my proof, they're basically the same action.
The concepts are the same.
Right. And the words, the theorem to be false, haven't changed at all. So why does one version work perfectly fine and the other one just kicks the noun right out of the sentence? Why?
That's a great hook. Because the answer isn't just, it sounds wrong.
Yeah.
The answer is that there's this incredibly rigid, almost mathematical logic running underneath everything you say, a hidden engine called abstract case.
And that is our mission for this deep dive. We're going into let's call it the source code of human language.
We are.
We're working from a really foundational text by Noam Chomsky and Howard Lasnik, structural case and the theory of principles and parameters.
This is a classic and, a fair warning to everyone listening. We are not talking about the kind of grammar your high school English teacher taught you.
No, this isn't about commas.
Not at all.
Yeah.
This isn't about not splitting infinities. This is about the biological blueprint for language in the human brain.
Yeah.
We're looking at why your mind allows certain sentences and just flat out forbids others for reasons you're not even conscious of.
So the whole argument hinges on this idea of case. Now, for me, when I hear that word, I get these flashbacks to Latin class.
Oh, yeah, the charts.
The charts, you just memorize them. Nominative, genitive, dative. If a word is the subject, it ends in us. If it's an object, it's You can actually hear the case.
Right. In a language like Latin or German or Russian, case is what linguists call morphologically manifested. It has a sound. You can see its job stamped right on the end of the word.
But the big insight from Chomsky and Lasnik is that a language like English is running the exact same software.
It's just invisible.
So even though the word John sounds the same whether he's doing something or something is done to him, the grammar is treating those two Johns completely differently.
Exactly. Think of case as a VIP pass or a ticket. The source text introduces this thing called the case filter. It's a universal law. Every language has it.
And what does it say?
It says, every noun phrase that is phonetically realized must be assigned abstract case.
Okay, let's break that down. Phonetically realized, that just means spoken out loud, right?
Yep. If you want to say a noun, it has to have a ticket.
So what happens if a noun shows up in a sentence, but it's in a spot where nobody's handing out tickets?
The sentence crashes. It's ungrammatical. Your brain just rejects it as, word salad.
Okay, so let's get into the bureaucracy. Who hands out these tickets? Who are the official case assigners?
Well, it's actually a very exclusive club. Not just any word can do it. In English, the main assigners are finite verbs and prepositions.
And finite verbs are just verbs with a tense, like walks, walked is.
Precisely. A finite verb assigns what's called nominative case to its subject. That's why we say I left, not me left.
Got it.
Then you have your transitive verbs like see or hit. They assign accusative case to their objects. And finally, prepositions like of, to, with, they assign what's called oblique case.
So verbs and prepositions are the gatekeepers. They have the authority. And this explains that glitch from the beginning.
Right.
I proved the theorem. Proved is a tensed verb. It hands an accusative ticket to the theorem. Everything's fine.
The transaction is complete. Everyone's happy.
But my proof the theorem fails because proof is a noun.
And here is the absolute key constraint in the theory. Nouns and adjectives are not case assigners.
They're stingy.
They're syntactically stingy. The word proof, even though it means the same thing, it has no power to give a ticket to the theorem.
So the theorem is just standing there, unlicensed, and the case filter says, nope, you can't come in.
Exactly. The noun is stranded. And this explains so many other patterns. Like you can say, I am proud that Bill is here. That's fine, because Bill gets his ticket from is.
Right, inside that little clause.
But you can't shorten it. You can't just say, I am proud Bill.
No, that sounds like, my name is Proud Bill. Hi, I'm Proud Bill.
Exactly. It fails. And why? Because proud is an adjective. And adjectives can't assign case. So Bill is just stuck there with no ticket.
But we have a fix for that, don't we? We say, I am proud of Bill. Or, going back to my first example, my proof of the theorem.
And this is what the text calls of insertion. It's a rescue operation.
Wait, I have to push back a little here. Of is a preposition. You just said they assign case, so it's clearly giving the ticket to Bill.
It is.
But does of really mean anything in that sentence?
That is exactly the right question to ask.
Yeah.
And structurally, no, it doesn't. It's not like the leg of the table where it shows a part-whole relationship.
Right.
In proud of Bill or fear of spiders, the word of is basically meaningless.
So it's just a placeholder.
It's inserted for purely bureaucratic reasons. It's a syntactic patch.
So that seems really inefficient. We're adding a whole extra word that carries no meaning just to satisfy some invisible rule.
It feels a little clunky, but think of it like an adapter. You have an adjective proud and a noun Bill. The case filter says they can't connect directly. So the grammar shoves in an adapter, the preposition of, only because prepositions have the power to assign case.
So of is like a shell company. It's created just to launder the noun into the sentence.
That's a surprisingly accurate way to put it. Yes,
Uh-huh.
it lets the noun pass the case filter inspection.
Okay, so if a noun is stranded, we can fly in a preposition to save it. But the source material talks about another way. Insertion isn't the only option. Sometimes the noun has to move.
Right. Sometimes you can't just add a word. Sometimes the noun phrase itself has to pack its bags and move to a different neighborhood to find a ticket.
This is the whole NP movement idea.
Exactly. Noun phrases moving around the sentence, not for style, but for grammatical survival.
Okay, walk me through one of these survival moves.
Let's take the verb seem. It seems. Now, let's say we want to talk about Susan being nice. We might try to say, it seems Susan to be nice.
It seems Susan to be nice. Yeah, no, my brain just rejected that immediately.
And the theory tells us why. Let's trace the tickets. Susan is the subject of to be nice. But to be is an infinitive. It doesn't have a tense.
And infinitives can't assign case.
Right. The source is very clear. Infinitives can't assign nominative case. So to be can't help Susan. And seems is way up in the main clause. It's not a verb that can reach down and give her a ticket either. So Susan is stuck. She's in a caseless position.
So she moves.
She has to. And she becomes, Susan seems to be nice.
Whoa. So she literally lifts out of that lower position and travels all the way to the front of the sentence.
She does. And why there? Because that spot, the subject of seems, is a nominative case position. Seems is a finite verb. It can give her the ticket she needs.
That implies that when we speak, we aren't just lining up words like dominoes, we're launching them. So Susan starts in one place to get her meaning. She's the one who is nice, but she lands in a different place just to get her ticket.
It creates what linguists call a chain, a link between her semantic home and her syntactic destination. And this one mechanism explains one of the most common things in English, the passive voice.
Yes. The text goes deep on this. Mary was believed to be here.
Right, so think about the active version first.
Mm-hmm.
John believed Mary. Believed is a transitive verb. It acts on Mary, so it gives her an accusative ticket. Mary is perfectly happy staying right there.
Okay, but then we make it passive. Mary was believed.
Okay, now here's the deep part of the theory. What happens when you make a verb passive? The source argues that the passive morphology, that AE on believed, it essentially absorbs the verb's ability to assign case.
It eats the ticket.
Eats the ticket. The verb becomes more like an adjective. And as we already established.
Adjectives are stingy. They can't assign case.
Exactly.
Right.
So suddenly Mary is sitting next to believed, but believed has nothing to offer her.
So she has to move.
She has to move. She travels to the front. Mary was believed to get nominative case from that little helper verb was.
This totally changes how I see the passive voice. I always just thought of it as a stylistic thing, like you use it to sound more formal or objective, but you're saying it's a structural requirement.
It's a domino effect.
Yeah.
The moment you make the verb passive, you destroy its case assigning ability, and that forces the noun to move. It's not a choice.
It's a rescue mission.
It is. And it's all driven by a principle of last resort.
Which means you only do it if you absolutely have to.
Right. The brain is efficient. It's lazy. It doesn't move words around for fun. A noun only moves if it has no other option for getting a ticket.
I want to push on an exception, though. You just said that infinitives verbs with to are powerless. That's why Susan had to move away from to be.
Correct. Infinitives are generally caseless positions for audible nouns.
But what about the verb believe? I can say, I believe Susan to be nice. Susan didn't move. She's sitting right there next to the infinitive. Why is she allowed to stay there?
You found it. That's the famous ECM construction. Exceptional case marking.
Exceptional as in it breaks the rules.
It definitely bends them. See, believe is a powerhouse verb. Unlike seem or try, believe has this special ability to reach across a clause boundary.
It has long arms.
It has long arms. It can assign accusative case down into the lower clause right onto Susan, even though Susan technically belongs to that lower clause.
Okay, so believe is a special case, but this leads to what I think is the most mind-bending part of the whole text. The invisible noun.
That goes to the machine.
Yes. Let's compare believe with try.
Yeah.
I can say, I tried to be nice.
Okay, I tried to be nice. Semantically, who is being nice in that sentence?
Well, I am. The subject, I.
Right, but look at the structure. I tried somebody to be nice.
Yeah.
The verb to be has to have a subject. In the believe sentence, it was Susan. But we can't say I tried to be nice.
No. And you can't say I tried myself to be nice either. It's just wrong.
So there's a gap. And the theory says there is a silent invisible pronoun sitting in that gap. They call it PRO.
Big PRO.
Big PRO. The real sentence is, I tried PRO to be nice. And PRO is the subject of to be nice.
An invisible noun.
Yeah.
Okay. But here's the paradox from the text. Believe allows a real noun there. I believed Susan, but it forbids the ghost. You can't say, I believed PRO to be nice.
Correct. No ghost allowed after believe.
But try is the exact opposite. I tried PRO to be nice is perfect, but I tried Susan to be nice is completely impossible.
They have what's called complementary distribution, where one can live, the other can't.
But why? If the case filter says every noun needs a ticket, how does PRO survive? We already know try doesn't have the long arms of believe, and we know the infinitive to be can't assign a normal ticket. So PRO should be illegal.
And this is where the theory gets really clever. The proposal in the source is that PRO does get case, but it's a special kind of case. They call it null case.
Null case, like a restricted access badge.
Think of it like a library card versus a passport. The theory says that the little word to in the infinitive can actually check this special null case, but it can only do it for PRO. It's not strong enough for a heavy audible noun like Susan.
That is a brilliant solution. So a real noun like Susan needs the full passport, which only a finite verb or a powerhouse like believe can issue. But the ghost noun, PRO, can get by with just the library card handed out by the infinitive to.
And that explains their distribution perfectly. It's why PRO lives happily after try, but Susan can't, and why Susan is fine after believe, but PRO isn't. Believe is handing out passports, which PRO can't use.
It maps out these invisible borders in our grammar. But I have to ask the big so what question. We've got tickets, movement, ghosts, library cards. Why does the human brain go through all this trouble? Why doesn't it just hear my proof of the theorem and go, I get what you mean?
This brings us to the final and maybe the most profound idea in the text, the visibility condition. This is what ties it all back to meaning.
How does it do that?
Well, think about what a noun is for. It plays a role in the event. In John ate the apple, John is the agent, the doer, and the apple is the patient, the thing that gets eaten. Linguists call these theta roles.
The who did what to whom.
Exactly. The theory is that the part of your brain that assigns those roles, the part that understands the story, is basically blind. It can't see a noun to give it a role unless that noun is illuminated by case.
So case is literally the light switch.
That's the metaphor. Without case, a noun is in the dark. The meaning-making part of the brain can't find it to give it a job. The visibility condition says a noun is only visible for theta marking if it has case.
Wow. So when my brain rejects my proof the theorem, it's not just breaking some arbitrary rule, it's a system failure. My brain hears the word theorem, but because it has no case, the semantic system can't read it.
It's like the file is corrupted. It forces the syntax to be well-formed before any meaning can be calculated.
And the text links this to economy. You mentioned last resort.
Yes, the whole minimalist idea. The system is perfectly efficient. Nouns only move to get case so they can become visible. The second they get that ticket, they stop.
Yeah.
You never see a noun just wandering around a sentence for no reason.
So Susan seems to be nice. She moves once, gets her nominative ticket from Seams, and that's it. She's done.
Exactly. It all suggests that what we think of as this, creative free-form thing speech is actually a biological computation running on incredibly strict, efficient rails.
It's just staggering to think about the machinery running under a simple chat. Every time I say I'm proud of you, my brain is performing this real-time patch to stop the system from crashing.
You're satisfying the case filter in milliseconds without even thinking about it.
So as we wrap up, I have to ask, this whole system of insertion, null case, movement, Is this good design?
That is the multi-million-dollar question in linguistics right now.
Yeah.
On one hand, you have the view that language is, a perfect system, it's elegant, economy, last resort, it's all very neat.
But on the other hand,
You have all these patches. We have to stick in a meaningless word like of to make things work. We use vacuous expletives, like the word there in there's a man outside, which adds zero meaning, but is just there to fill a slot.
it feels a little cobbled together, like spaghetti code.
So the question to leave you with is this. Are these imperfections? Is human language a messy, evolutionary Rube Goldberg machine full of bugs? Or are these bugs actually features of a deep biological logic that we just don't understand yet? Why would a perfect system need meaningless words to function?
A bug or a feature? The ultimate tech support question for the human brain. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
See you next time.